Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be showing you one of the most impressive chess games that I have ever seen in my life. Truly breathtaking, stunning stuff, and worth just one dedicated video. It is relatively rare for me to only include one chess game in a video. I do it every now and then, but I will be certainly doing it today. Folks, your chess games, the ones that you submit to me in the How to Lose a Chess playlist, are a contributing factor to my receding hairline and probably also my genetics. At some point, I will need to start taking stuff for this because my hair is going. But on a day like today, on a game like I will be showing you today, I think this stimulates a little bit of hair follicles to trigger a little bit of growth. I would also like to inform you that the very first How to Win at Chess Next Level has arrived at my house. This is my second book. This is the book to get you past 1500 to become a strong intermediate player and get you on the road to 2000. It is here, and signed pre-orders are back for a limited time, limited amount remaining. Top line of the description. I will also pin a comment where you can get them at Strand, which is based in New York City. Get them while they're still here. This is it. There will not be any more signed copies. They are back by popular demand because they sold out so quickly last time. You can check this book out. It also comes with 300 bonus exercises, which will be hosted on Chessly, my educational platform. And with that in mind, let me get into this game right now. For those of you that are sometimes feeling like maybe you're a little too strong for my first book, which is for beginners, this book is amazing. I poured so much effort into it. I'm so excited it's here, and I can't wait for all of you to jump into it. Now, the protagonist is Jordan van Fourcés, Dutch Grandmaster, and unfortunately, the victim of the brilliance is Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, MVL, French Grandmaster. This was a French club tournament. The game began with d4, knight to f6, c4 from Jordan and MVL. Normally, nowadays, everybody's going for a Queen's Gambit declined with e6, d5, and the knight on f6. Very classical, very good. But g6 is the move that Maxime chooses. g6 followed by pawn to d5 or bishop g7 and then d6, which are the Grunfeld and King's Indian defenses respectively, are very good openings, but nowadays it is a little bit more meta to go toward the center. Jordan plays knight c3. He is completely inviting Maxime to play d5, and Maxime, if you had to argue, is probably the world's leading practitioner of the Grunfeld defense over the last 10 to 15 years. There is also, of course, Peter Svidler. Maxime would probably even defer to it being Svidler, but he is one of the top, 2 or 3 people who have studied this opening and played it. Now, there are many lines here, many choices for white. By the way, Grunfeld for intermediate level, like this level, 1500, very decent opening with black. The ideas are quite simple, and I have played it in the slow run, and I did make a video about it. Knight f3 is a move, bishop g7, and now we immediately see Jordan play something that is aggressive and is going to make this game clearly an option for a brilliancy prize. He doesn't develop a bishop. He doesn't play in the center. He doesn't take. He plays h4. This is always a bad sign. h4 is the sign of a fighter that is walking you down, completely unafraid of your power level and your counter punches. You pose no threat to them. They are immediately launching a rook's pawn forward. h4 is a declaration of hostility from the Netherlands to the French. Unfortunately, this is not a matchup that we can see in 2026 World Cup, as Orange was eliminated by Morocco, but still, spoilers if for some reason you're like 2 days behind on the World Cup, but still, and probably France will be the champions anyway. h4 is a move, it's a flank pawn attack on a base pawn, and h5 is really annoying because Black's knight needs to guard the center, and it doesn't actually fight for this as much as you would like. Black could respond with h5, but that weakens g5 considerably, and after this, white is just better because black cannot kick out the bishop anymore, which is why h4, which is a flank attack, is best met with a strike in the center of the board, and Maxime plays d takes c4. So he wins himself a pawn, but he does allow Jordan to take the full center, but now h5 is not possible, as you would simply be taking this with the knight. Jordan plays the move e4. He has the full center control now. Knights are protecting, and he is ready to play bishop takes pawn, at which point he would have a dominant positional advantage. Now the best way for black to play this position, seeing that white wants to take a maximum approach, is to strike back at the center, again with the move c5. Now that looks weird. Why would you play c5? Well, you can't really take this pawn with white. If you take this pawn, you open up the queens to see each other, and no way of recapturing the queen is good for you. If the queen takes and you go like this, and you preserve the right to castle, that knight used to guard the pawn. You lose a pawn, you're going to lose another pawn. You've also opened up the bishop, so that doesn't work very well. And if you take with the king, it's also unpleasant, because now your king is in the middle forever. And black always has knight to g4 and just various ways of attacking you. So this just doesn't work. So you cannot take this, but you also cannot allow yourself to be taken. So you have to go here. And now black shows you the other idea that they had, MVL, which is b5. Look at this incredible idea. So b5 defends the c4 pawn. It loses this pawn, but you can't even take this with white, because then you would get hit with check. And then you would need to go back, and boom! And now you are not just, defending with white, you are nearly lost with white. So b5 and everything looks to hold together for black, but it doesn't, because white has h5. While the knight is distracted, targeting the center, it cannot also hit the h5 pawn. If it were to take, right, like this, which is actually the only move, now white can go knight takes b5, as the knight is no longer looking at the middle of the board. Now, if black were to play something like b4, white would throw in h6, hitting the bishop, and if the bishop has to go away to f8, black's position is kind of going backwards now, and this is not what we want. White can very easily get a dominant advantage from this point. So h5 is a very timely move. You are looking to damage the structure, preserve long-term attacking ideas. Taking with the pawn is impossible, as white would immediately go here. Now, knight takes h5 is played, which enables knight takes b5 and MVL castles. We have a little bit of clarity from the beginning of the game. Jordan wins his pawn back. The material advantage is restored. It's 6-6 with the pawns. The bishop comes out, defending the knight, pinning the knight to the queen, and now the queen goes to c2. So Jordan moves the knight out of the way of the pin. Now he can move the knight, and black has finished his development. So black castled, moved his bishop, moved his knight. So black has developed both bishops, both knights, king is castled. It's a very non-standard position. What can you expect from something like this? So just so you know, this is not like a relentless book promo, but intermediate level players, you have to understand what to do in a position after the opening pawn structure. Here the pawn structure is very non-standard, typical of the Grunfeld. Then you have to think, what do you do with your pawns and your pieces? And how do you come up with a plan? In a position like this, we can agree that this position is very dynamic because it's non-standard, there's not a lot of clarity, there's not a lot of symmetry, there's going to be a lot of piece play. Like, with the king in the middle and this open file, you would think white is going to start an attack. Now, does white castle? Does white leave the king in the center? Which type of trades are we looking at? Like, do we want to trade certain pieces? Well, Jordan finishes his development. That bishop has not come out yet. He puts it out on e3. He might want to castle this way. And since black is staring down over here, a very natural move would be rook to b8, just simply improving the positioning of the rook. Some of you might be wondering, hey, why doesn't black play knight b4 attacking the queen? It's a safe move and it attacks the queen. You want to get past this kind of short-sighted one-move thinking as you improve as a player. Knight b4 is good, but it actually helps the queen slide over, forming a battery that then could be useful to trade off that bishop and weaken the black defenses. Not to mention that after knight b4, if you don't have a follow-up move with this knight, it's simply going to get booted and you will lose time. So as you improve as a chess player deeper into the 4-digit club, these dopamine moves like knight to b4, they have to leave your arsenal of tricks, all right, and skills. Which is why rook b8 is played, which is a better long-term move. And now we begin the creative genius, right? That is Jordan. So how does white proceed? I mean, he got all his pieces out. Like, does he want to castle? Maybe a3? Like, I would consider a3 here, potentially. Well, actually, there's a weird thread in this position. And that is why Jordan plays king f1. What is this? I mean, king f1 looks like you accidentally had your mouse on the king, and then it just went here. Well, king f1 actually sidesteps rook takes b5. It's kind of a ghost tactic. But this is why you always need to look for checks for the opponent, because after bishop b5, this check is vicious and you would lose 2 pieces for a rook, which is bad. You don't want to give away 2 pieces for a rook almost ever, like 8 times out of 10. So king f1 gets out of all that, and prepares the attack. Maxime plays queen b6, and he is ready with pawn to e6, breaking apart the center, maybe knight c7 in some positions, trading off the knight, etc. Jordan plays a4, so he is completely going to lock that knight into the queen side. It's going to stay there, and then the counterplay from black, which is going to come in the form of probably some sort of queenside expansion, is to be expected. So black is going to go knight b4, which I said is a dopamine move, but since this pawn cannot kick out the knight anymore, it's actually good, and then a6 to remove the knight, etc. So that is what happens. We get knight to b4 here, Jordan plays queen d2, and he's ready, right? He's ready with bishop to h6. If this knight were to move, well, black's pieces would slowly be extracted, and then you would probably land a queen and a rook and just go, checkmate on the h-file. That is something that we can expect. Black has many choices of move here. He chooses to trade the bishop for the knight so that the knight doesn't move and ultimately cause the bishop to be a target. So we have takes, takes. Now, that transformation, what did it do to the position? Well, white's king is a little weak. Like, you look at this, you go, oh, there's a lot of empty space. It's in the middle. But one of the things that How to Win at Chess Next Level teaches you is don't evaluate things in terms of words in chess. Don't just say, my king looks weak. Okay, prove it to me. Like, how? Where is the weakness? The truth is, there is not much weakness. It's not easy for black to actually attack the white king. Black's only way of attacking anything is to maybe go here and attack this pawn. And even if white moved the king to defend, like, there is no check, nothing. So it's not really that the king is weak. White also has the two bishops, and in general, if you've traded a light-squared bishop, the opposing light-squared bishop is now the remaining light-squared attacker on the board as a bishop, right? And so this game really could get decided by a light-squared attack. You have to be very vigilant about that. Black plays the move a6, and the knight goes back to c3. That is self-explanatory, and Maxime is ready, right? He is ready to break through on the queen side with some play over here. He needed to probably bring his remaining rook to the game and then go for e6. That is probably what he should have gone for. Not to mention, rook d8 actually in some positions allows the king to run away. It creates kind of a little tunnel of escape against any attack. Instead of that, he plays bishop to d4. And this is a very interesting move because now if the bishop goes to h6, his idea could be to move the rook, obviously. He also could maybe, sacrifice the rook and just leave him with the dominant dark squared bishop here. But bishop d4 is the move that he chooses, bishop h6, and Maxime gives away the rook. He doesn't want it, and this bishop is fully anchored in. If you take en passant here with white, this is very creative by Maxime. He's going to open up the rook. Now, I want to remove the eval bar because stockfish is stockfish, right? It's going to tell you immediately, bishop h6, oh, this is just not... that's bad, it's plus 1.1. It's not easy to play a position like this with white. Like, the computer takes a lot of the mystique out of it because you look at it like a scoreboard, like, it's 2-1 in terms of goals or something. No. So bishop h6 played, Maxime plays e5, very creative move, and Jordan doesn't take the rook, doesn't take en passant, just look at the position, he plays queen g5. So queen g5 threatens, rook takes knight. That's pretty self-explanatory. The queen is pinning the pawn to the king, rook takes knight. Right, easy. Now, if black goes king h8, which is to be expected, that actually doesn't stop rook takes knight. So rook takes knight, if takes, this is mate. So when you look at queen g5, you're like, oh, this move is really, really fascinating. So rook h5 is basically guaranteed, and there's a hanging rook. So black has 8 points of material they kind of can't save. If you go knight g7, it only gets worse because after takes, takes, I could kind of hunt your king into the center of the board. And you don't really want this if you're playing with black. So it looks like Jordan is just completely winning, but here comes Maxime with a counter of a lifetime. I told you, this game, brilliant on both sides. Epic battle. Watch. Knight d3. If there was ever a Trojan horse equivalent on a chessboard, this is it. The knight is hanging. It's completely eligible for capture. In fact, it has to be taken. It has to be taken. Why? Because if you continue with your plan of rook takes knight, queen b2 arrives, and I'm threatening, look at this, rook Knight, mate. I am threatening everything, and your attack over here is very clumsy. Very clumsy. Which is why one of the possible moves, not the move that was played, but one of the most possible moves is queen takes knight. You can actually sacrifice your queen because after pawn takes, you go check. And if black goes king h8, you go check here mate. So the only way that black can save this is to sack their queen, and you would take, and then take. You would win 2 knights, and you would still be threatening a rook. But the best move in the position is to be brave. It's to be confident, all right? It's to swallow your stroopwafel. It's to eat your boterham. I've been learning a little bit of Dutch on Duolingo. It's like for absolutely no reason. Like I'm really bored. Boterham, you know. And just be bitterballen, that's another one. And just be brave, take the knight, queen takes b2 is there, checkmate, rook is hanging, knight is hanging, and then bishop is hanging. Everything is hanging in the white position. Jordan plays, again, the best move. Jordan came prepared for this crazy position. He plays knight e2. The rook is gone. The rook is gone with a check. You are losing a rook with a check. A lot of us would be quaking in our boots here. Queen takes rook check. The king goes to g2. Queen is hanging, so you have to move it. No. F6! The counter from Maxime. F6. All right? F6 is played. The queen is also hanging. This queen is hanging. Now, according to the time spent, here, Maxime didn't even want to take the rook. He probably calculated f6. He spent like 15 minutes here. He also was probably looking at knight f4, which looks insane. The point is that, of course, you can't take it because you're mated. The bishop hangs, the rook hangs, the knight hangs, but white is actually totally surviving this. So queen a1, king g2, f6 counter, queen g4. Now you have to move the queen takes. So right now, black is up 4 points of material. Okay, black is up 4 points. He's up 4. I think the technical count is rook and pawn for a bishop. No, it might be rook and 2 pawns for a bishop. Black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rook and 2 pawns for a bishop. But white can play rook takes h5, and white is now only down 1 point of material and still has a vicious attack. Black plays rook f7. He gets out of the way. Everything is defended. Okay. Now, white is winning here in 2 ways. White is winning here by going to an endgame. White can play knight takes bishop, very boring, pawn takes, and then just like 2 bishops for a rook, long term, you win the game. That would be nice. But Jordan is Jordan. Jordan needs to sacrifice all of his pieces to win this game. He cannot win a game normally. He is baby Tal. That's what we'll call him. Jordan plays the rest of this game like a gangster. He plays rook h1. What could possibly be the idea of rook to h1? Why would you retreat? Why would you do that? Black plays c4. I mean, this is terrifying stuff. c4, your bishop's hanging. You can't put it here. What do you got to play? Bishop b1? I mean, bishop b1 just feels wrong. Ugh. Bishop b1, black goes c3. I don't know. Jordan had the whole thing planned out. He plays rook c1. He counters the pawn push because if you take the bishop like this, rook c8 check, and the king has no escape. The king is walled in by this dark squared bishop. Just incredible scenes. So rook c1, MVL is like, okay, so the queen is the problem. I have to take care of the queen. I'm going to play pawn f5. I'm going to hit the queen. My opponent is going to take my pawn and continue to try to open up my king. And in that moment, I'm going to sneak in and take this bishop. And my pawn is 2 squares away from queening. How bad can it be? Only move by white, Jordan, in this absolute web, this mess of a position, is to play pawn takes f5. And now c takes d3 is played. So black is again up 3 points of material. The knight is hanging. The pawn is maybe promoting. White plays, again, only move, pawn takes g6. Now, this is very straightforward. The rook is hanging with a check, and this is hanging with a check. So if black were to take, he would lose immediately. Queen takes, king h8, queen f7, there's mate, you have to defend it, then I'm going to go back. White's king, by the way, incredibly safe. which is quite fascinating. Even against this rook check, like totally safe, king in a little cube. Okay, that's self-explanatory. And what if black plays rook e7? Well, now it's not so simple. Because you would think, okay, I just take the pawn on h7, and it's a double check. Yeah, but the king can hide. It's not so easy. For a 27, 30 FIDE rated player, it is relatively easy. For the average person, this is not that easy. It's a very deceiving position. You can get lost in the ocean here quite fast of like what you should look at, you know. So rook e7, he takes the bishop to remove a little bit of defense, and Maxime rolls the dice here and plays pawn to d2. Pawn to d2, he's feeling the position is sort of disintegrating here. Pawn to d2 attacks the rook. Now, a lot of us would see this and just be like, okay, look, I mean, that pawn's really... Like, a lot of people just panic when they see a pawn. They're like, this is coming, it's protected. Maybe I should just take and get rid of all the pressure. If you do that, the black king can escape off the back rank. You're still winning, but you didn't need to do this. Jordan ends this game from this position with the equivalent analogy of a spinning wheel kick to the head of his opponent. He ends this game with the equivalent of a half football field bicycle kick from the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He plays rook c8 check, which is a normal move. You are defended with the queen. Black's king has no escape. But how exactly do you win this position if you're playing with the white pieces after black takes and is able to come back with a defensive move? What do you do? Actually, this is not easy at all, because you don't have a check with the queen anymore. You can play hope chess, pawn takes pawn, and hope the rook takes, but if the king takes, and then you give another check, I'm taking your bishop. So queen c8, queen e8, where's the winning move? You wouldn't know this position is winning if you were playing it. Your queen is about to get traded. This pawn is promoting on the next turn. If white plays queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes, your knight is hanging. So there is a knight threatened, a promotion threatened. What do you play here? Well, Jordan saw everything. Jordan knew this position was m5. Maybe Jordan drives a BMW, I don't know. Because in this position, Jordan van Foreest played the final move of the game. He got up on his noble steed and galloped into the black position with knight to f5. And Maxime Vachier-Lagrave resigned. The point is that if you take the queen, which, let's be honest, is the only thing you can do, as I am threatening to take the rook with check, you can't even take me, and then I would take the queen. If black plays queen takes queen, Jordan would finish this game with knight takes e7 check, king h8, and pawn to g7 mate. Checkmating the black king with a horse, a bishop, and a pawn, while the opponent is basically up 2 queens. Well, take a bow, Mr. Van Foreest. That was an extremely impressive game of chess. You should be proud of yourself. And one last time, get your signed pre-order while you still can. I will even send one to Jordan so he can sign it to send it back to me after the game that he just played. Get out of here.